Yo, Big C in the house. You know the name. Finn Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami Heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Marino the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play-by-play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squad's the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Finn Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Finn Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it Aqua Tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.
Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test. Expect nothing less, you check as I'm chess, what's happening next? He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain that's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession, all in his possession. You got their attention, I'll leave an impression and take a redemption. Just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody.
What up, Finn fans? Welcome to another episode of the Finn Posse Podcast. I am your host, Big C, and this is brought to you by Game Changers Media. Good morning. We back for another episode. What up? Take a look, see who's in the building. Again, I appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis and shows their love to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share. I want to do a lot more where a major change to the channel and to the show. I want to start having people come on a daily basis and give their opinion, their insight, what they feel about this football team on a daily basis so we can talk about it, so we can hash it out. That's my goal for the future of this channel is person after person comes on, that they give their take. They say how they feel about things, and then we digest it a little bit, discuss it a little bit, and move on to the next person. I think that'd be a real good dynamic that a lot of shows don't have. Now, I know a lot of shows do call-ins and this and that, but typically that's a very small part of their show. I think doing something like that would make this show different, unique, and I think it would be a very good way to push the Finn Posse Podcast into the future. But good morning, Michael, Raphael, Aqua, good morning, Blake, Miller, good morning. So, rumor is that Mike McDaniel seat is getting hot. It's getting real hot. And you don't got to be a rocket scientist to realize that that should be the case, right? I mean, we're sitting at 1-4, a team that should be better, should have a better record than what we currently have. Let's keep it real. We should have won that Patriots game. We should have won the Carolina game at the very least. Now, the Indianapolis Colts have been way better than anybody expected. So, taking the loss to them week 1 on the road, okay. Would you like a better performance from the Miami Dolphins? Absolutely. The way we lost was unacceptable. But the loss as a whole, the way it's looking right now, is understandable. The Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Bills are the Buffalo Bills. They're going to be one of the better teams in the AFC, so that's understandable. What's not understandable is being up 17 on the Carolina Panthers and dropping that game to a very bad Carolina team. What's not understandable is a young quarterback in New England, a new head coach in Mike Vrabel, New England team that's on the road. We shouldn't have lost that game either. So we should be sitting at the very least 3-2. We should be sitting at 3-2. So the fact that we're sitting 1-4, and this is Mike McDaniel, was his 5th season, 4th season, whatever season it is, this is unacceptable. And like I said, you don't got to be a rocket scientist to realize the writing's on the wall that Mike McDaniel's future is probably not in Miami. But what I'm hearing is very, very disheartening at the same time. A lot of people are ready to move on from Mike McDaniel, right? His play calling, his failure to make adjustments. For whatever reason, you're not happy with Mike McDaniel as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. It's understandable, and you have a reasoning behind it. But what's disheartening about all these rumors and all these claims is that Chris Grier might be safe. Chris Grier may be safe. And you can have your own opinions on this, but to me, and this is just my opinion. Again, none of us know for 100% anything. You know what I mean? We can all have educated guesses. We can all say, oh, well, I told you about this, so I'm going to be right about that. Listen, nobody's right 100% of the time. This is strictly my opinion as a fan, and you might put blame somewhere else. But in my opinion, the main issue with the Miami Dolphins is Chris Grier. If there's one person I'm putting blame on, it's Chris Grier. You can blame Mike McDaniel. You can blame Tua Tagovailoa. You can blame Stephen Ross. To me, it's Chris Grier. And I guess Stephen Ross goes hand in hand with him because Stephen Ross refuses to make the change. But Chris Grier, and we're going to take a look at his draft history, at things that he's done to this franchise, that, man, a broke clock is right twice a day. Chris Grier's not. Chris Grier, of 10 years of being the general manager of the Miami Dolphins, has missed out on so many picks and gotten so many wrong. And if you take a look at the list of Chris Grier's best picks in the last 10 years, you're like, that's the best we could pull off. That's the best he's done. And we've had years where we had 3 picks in the first round. I think twice. I think twice we had at least 2 picks in the first round twice. We might have had 3 twice. And the fact that the list I'm about to show you is the best that we could come up with. These are the best draft picks that Chris Grier's been able to bring into the Miami Dolphins in 10 years is absolutely mind-numbing. But the fact that Chris Grier could be safe, that is the worst possible news the Miami Dolphins could receive. That's the worst possible news, because until Chris Greer's replaced, this Miami Dolphins team has no hopes of getting out of the funk that they're currently in, because Chris Greer's just not good at building a football team. He's not good at drafting. He's not good at signing free agents. He's just not good. Now, has he brought in some free agents that have been phenomenal for us on low deals? Yes, he has. I'm not going to say that the man hasn't ever made a right move, because that's not real life. But Chris Grier has way more failures than he has successes. Way more failures than successes. So let's take a look here at this Mike McDaniel report. Mike McDaniel is on very thin ice with the Miami Dolphins ownership and could be out as head coach sooner rather than later, according to a report. Veteran NFL insider Tony Pauline of Sportskeeda says Dolphins owner Stephen Ross could oust Mike McDaniel before the end of October. The same sources who told me that McDaniel is on very thin ice after their week 1 loss to the Colts predict that Ross will wait 2 to 3 more games before deciding whether to pull the trigger on his head coach. Pauline reported Tuesday, many wonder if general manager Chris Grier will also be cut loose. Sources tell me that they do not think it's a definite that both the head coach and general manager would be fired at the same time. The Dolphins are currently 1-4, set to face the 3-2 Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday. In addition to Pauline's reporting earlier this season that McDaniel is in a rocky situation, he also wrote back in April that the coach has rubbed a lot of the veterans the wrong way. That clearly seems to have included cornerback Jalen Ramsey, who was traded by the Dolphins in June after suggesting earlier in the year that he'd rather not be around people who were okay with mediocrity. According to Pauline, the Dolphins would likely target a disciplinarian type a la Dan Quinn to be their next head coach. Now check this name out. And someone else messaged it in the comments. Former Buffalo Bills and New York Jets head coach Rex Ryan was named as a possible candidate. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking joking me? Rex Ryan, the same guy that was on ESPN on the air, titty sucking the New York Jets, talking about how much he loves the Jets, how much he would go there for free to coach the Jets. He so badly wants to be a New York Jet. Are you joking me? This is who you want to bring in as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, a New York Jet lover? Not to mention, what's Rex Ryan done in the last 10 years? What has Rex Ryan done? He's been absentee for the last 10 years. Now, he had a nice little run with the Jets. Minimal success with the Bills. Great defensive mind. He constructed them early 2000 Ravens defenses. But Rex Ryan, like, come on. Rex Ryan, this guy was just, he was on TV literally last year pronouncing his love to the New York Jets fan base, to the franchise, how he loves them so. And that's who you're talking about bringing in as the next head coach? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But don't tell me that's not a move that the Miami Dolphins would make, because it absolutely is. I trust nothing that Chris Grier is going to do. Nothing. The sad part is that Ross will never fire Grier. Grier is safe as Howie Roseman is with the Eagles. Man, Big C, why not consider Ron Rivera as head coach? He's not soft. Listen, Ron Rivera, I'd consider anybody. I don't know what the right answer is. You know what I mean? You could get some coordinators, that have never been head coach that you think would be great fits. Nobody knows if they're going to have success. You know what I mean? Nobody knows if they're going to have success. What's up, hardcore? I don't know what the right answer is at quarter or at GM. I don't know what the right answer is at head coach, but I know it's not Rex Ryan. I don't know. I know that it's not Rex Ryan. So who would I want? I think I think we should bring in someone with experience, obviously. I think first time head coaches, they got such a high learning curve. Now, can a first time head coach be successful? Absolutely. Absolutely. If John Harbaugh becomes available with the Ravens, maybe I'd consider him. With John Gruden, he's a big name head coach, but let's be real, John Gruden hasn't really. What's John Gruden done in the last 10 years? I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. It's a crucial decision. It's a decision that I'm glad I'm not making because that's a lot of pressure. Because if you don't get it right, you're talking about another 3-4 years just wasted away. But if I was Stephen Ross, I wouldn't be making that decision. I'd find me a competent GM, a GM that has a history of building a football team, and I'd rely on him to hire the next head coach. John Gruden did build 2 Super Bowl rosters, but can we admit that the game as football has changed in the last 20 years when John Gruden was successful? The game of football has changed so much in the last 20 years. I'm not saying John Gruden would not be a fantastic head coach here. I'm just saying John Gruden's not clear cut because it's been so long since he's had success in this league. So I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I know Mike McDaniel was underqualified for the position. He wasn't even the offensive coordinator in San Francisco and then comes here and gets a job as the head coach. So there's no wonder that Mike McDaniel's over his head, right? Now there was rumors about Sean McVay stepping away from the Rams at points last year, and then he decided to come back. Maybe McVay's looking for a change of scenery, and we can trade for McVay. I'd be up for trading for a head coach. For the right head coach, I'd be willing to trade for one. Joe Brady's an interesting name. Yeah, make sure you hit that like button for me. Shoot, offer some trade capital, draft capital to the Kansas City Chiefs for Andy Reid. You know what I mean? And I know that's not realistic, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, in real life, we missed our home run hire. We missed out on our home run hire. Our home run hire was Jim Harbaugh. And Stephen Ross decided to protect his alma mater instead of bringing Jim Harbaugh to the Miami Dolphins. Jim Harbaugh was ready to move on, but Stephen Ross did not want to take him away from the Michigan Wolverines. he didn't want to be the reason that Jim Harbaugh left Michigan. But Jim Harbaugh, that was the right answer. That's the right head coach. That's who we should have brought in. That's who we should have brought in. Sean Payton, missed opportunity. Chris Grier, Stephen Ross messed that whole situation up. In reality, Tom Brady should have been the quarterback here. And I know, listen, I've hated Tom Brady for a long, long time, but I was on board with it. I was on board with it. Anything that gives us a chance at winning the Super Bowl, I'm on board with. So, yeah, again, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know who the right GM would be for this team. I don't know who the right head coach is. For general manager, I'd be looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, trying to pluck someone from their franchise because they know how to build a football team. The Kansas City Chiefs, someone from their franchise. The Baltimore Ravens, someone from their franchise. The Pittsburgh Steelers, someone from their franchise. These are teams that are consistently good football clubs and build their teams through the draft. Joe Philbin was the offensive line coach last I knew. I forget who he was the offensive line coach for, but he was the offensive line coach last I knew. Let's take a look. This is the ratings. They graded Chris Grier's top picks over the last 10 years. And it's shocking that this is the best 10 years of NFL draft could produce. Now, some of these players, they were really good players. But a lot of them, you're like, that's the best. Wait till, we don't even get out the top 10 and you're like, damn, that's not very good. So let's take a look. And they rated them. I don't necessarily agree with the ratings or what order they necessarily got these guys in. This is someone else's list. But let's take a look at it. Number 1, cornerback Xavier Howard. Listen, Xavier Howard had a great career here. Great career. Is he an all-time great? No. Is he a Hall of Famer? Probably not. Right? Xavier Howard is the best draft pick that Chris Grier has been able to produce for the Miami Dolphins in 10 years. Tell me that's not absolutely despicable. That the best player that you've been able to produce in 10 years of drafting for the Miami Dolphins is Xavier Howard. Again, Xavier Howard was a very good player for the Miami Dolphins. Don't get me wrong. For a few years, he was one of the best corners in the league. But in 10 years, I expect you to hit more of a home run than Xavier Howard. Am I wrong on that? And if I'm wrong, tell me. If I'm wrong, tell me. If you feel that I'm wrong and I'm being too harsh, tell me. But I think in 10 years of drafting, if the best pick that you were able to produce is Xavier Howard, then you're not a very good drafter of players. I got this list offline. If Mike Tannenbaum was still in charge of the draft in 2016, then I apologize. But this is the list they gave me offline. Again, this isn't my list. This was Chris Grier's list. Number 2, Laramie Tunsil. Now, if Xavier Howard is Mike Tannenbaum, then Laramie Tunsil's Laramie Tunsil, or Mike Tannenbaum too, right? Because this is the same draft. Laramie Tunsil had the smoking incident. He ends up falling to number 13. Was a very good left tackle for us. We traded him for Houston for a boatload of picks that, to be honest, we dropped the ball on. We dropped the ball on those picks. But number 2 is Laramie Tunsil. Again, a very good player, but not an all-time great, not a hell no. Xavier Howard was nowhere near Darrelle Revis. You're tripping. But like I said, Laramie Tunsil, a very good player. But in 10 years, you would expect to have more players of this magnitude. Number 3, Javon Holland. Now we're really, Javon Holland had a great 2-year span. But after that, Javon Holland has fallen off considerably. No longer a member of this team. You're telling me in 10 years that the third best draft pick you've been able to muster up is Javon Holland? And again, this list can vary. You can have your opinions on where these players are on this list. This is not my list. This is not my opinion. I wouldn't have Javon Holland at 3. I would have a couple other players ahead of Javon Holland. But this list has Javon Holland at number 3 of all-time draft picks by Chris Grier. Number 4, Christian Wilkins. Another player that he was a very good player. Was he a top 5 defensive tackle in the league ever? I don't know about that. Maybe 1 year of his career he had top 5 numbers. He was one of the better defenders against the run. But as far as all around defensive tackles, he wasn't better than Aaron Donald. He wasn't better than Chris Jones. Numerous players better. Christian Wilkins is a nice pick. Don't get me wrong. But in 10 years of drafting, with all the draft picks that you've had, all the first round picks that you've had, Christian Wilkins is in your top 5. Number 5, defensive back, Minkah Fitzpatrick, was only here for a year. Then we traded him to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he had the best years of his career. Also, there's a key thing to this list. Minkah Fitzpatrick traded away. Christian Wilkins not re-signed. Javon Holland, we let him walk out the door. Laramie Tunsil traded away. 4 out of the top 5 draft picks in Chris Grier's tenure, we didn't re-sign or we traded them away. So even the players they say he had success on, we didn't extend or keep them in-house. I agree, Raphael. Sam Madison, Pat Surtain were better than Xavier Howard. I would say Brett Grimes was better than Xavier Howard. So 4 out of the top 5 players they say that were ever drafted by Chris Grier weren't extended or were traded away. So even when Chris Grier gets his picks correct, we don't bring them back, or we trade them away. What sense does that make? I liked Terrell Buckley a lot. I don't know if he was better than Xavier Howard, but I liked T-Buck a lot. Number 6, Robert Hunt. Again, that's 5 of the top 6 best picks in Chris Grier's tenure as general manager that we didn't re-sign or we traded away. That's not how you build a successful franchise. If you're drafting good players, you got to keep them in-house. The good players that Chris Grier has selected, he ships them out of town or doesn't re-sign them. What sense does that make? How can you build a successful franchise when you ship your best draft picks out? Number 7, Andrew Van Ginkel, another player that we let walk out the door. Number 8, running back Devon Achane, still on his rookie contract. Let's see if he gets re-signed. Number 9, Jalen Waddle. We did re-sign him. So 2 out of 9 players. 2 out of 9 players that Chris Grier's drafted, his top draft picks, we've actually brought back, re-signed, gave an extension to, kept in-house. 10, defensive end Jalen Phillips. When you've had so many draft picks over the course of 10 years and Jalen Phillips is in your top 10, you know you haven't been good drafting players. Jalen Phillips is a mediocre defensive end if I've ever seen one. Lombardo says 21 first and second round picks since 2019. And this is your top 10 players. Not Tua turned the ball over, is not on the list. X is not the best corner we've ever had. I don't think so. I don't believe that. He might be the best ball hawk that we've ever had, but as far as pure corners, I don't think he was the best corner we've ever had. But that's my opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. You know what I mean? And I love X. You know, X was a great player for us. It may be that maybe I'm biased because my childhood, those early 2000 defenses, so maybe I'm a little biased because of that. But listen, I don't think there's a wrong answer. It's just my opinion. You know what I mean? You can have your opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's my opinion. You can have yours. You know what I mean? Let's see where Tua does end up on this list. Devon Godshaw, number 11. Are you shitting me? Number 12, Jerome Baker. Number 13, Tua Tagovailoa. Some would say Tagovailoa is a legit franchise quarterback and therefore one of Grier's best picks. Others would say the general manager made the wrong choice when he passed on Justin Herbert, who went 1 pick later. After Tagovailoa led the NFL in passing yards last season, the Dolphins have reason to feel good about their quarterback. 14, a kicker, Jason Sanders. And number 15, Jakeem Grant. Now, I'll scroll down so you can see the rest of the list real quick. I'm not going to sit there and go through each and every player. Durham Smythe, Miles Gaskins. The fact that Miles Gaskins is in your top 20 is absolutely retarded. Raekwon Davis, Blake Ferguson, your long snapper. Come on. Isaiah Ford. These are in your top 25 draft picks all time for Chris Grier. He's been drafting for 10 years. These are practice squad players. Brandon Jones, Solomon Kinley, Vincent Taylor, Cameron Good, Ryan Hayes, Cam Smith is on this list. Absolute joke. Absolute joke. Tell me that this list does not tell you that Chris Grier is the biggest issue with the Miami Dolphins. Make sure you hit that like button. How many likes we got right now, guys? You guys got to help me out with those likes so I can get back in that algorithm. Tell me that list is absolutely pathetic. 21 first round or second round picks since 2021, and that's your top 25 players that you've drafted? Now, do I think Mike McDaniel needs to be replaced? Yeah, I do. His play calling has become stale. We run far too many screens. He abandons the run too often. He fails to make adjustments in crucial moments of the game. So I think Mike McDaniel needs to be replaced. But Chris Grier, to me, and this is my opinion, is the far bigger issue with the Miami Dolphins. Now, we went through the list of best draft picks by Chris Grier the last 10 years. I'm going to tell you some players that we missed out on. So 2016, again, I was told that was still Mike Tannenbaum. I was under the assumption that it was Chris Grier. If someone could let me know if I'm wrong on that. But 2016, we drafted Laramie Tunsil with the 13th pick, Xavier Howard with the second pick. Seven picks later, Derrick Henry was drafted. Seven picks later, Derrick Henry was drafted. Now, I'm not mad at the Laramie Tunsil pick. I'm not mad at the Xavier Howard pick. But Derrick Henry is an all-time great player. Derrick Henry's an all-time great running back. We took Kenyon Drake in the third round. In the other third round pick we had is Leonte Carew, wide receiver. Do you guys remember him, Carew? In the fourth round, Dak Prescott was sitting there. In 2017, we took Charles Harris with our 26th pick in the first round. Players that were available after Charles Harris. 8 picks later, TJ Watt was drafted. In the second round, you had Budda Baker drafted. Delvin Cook was drafted all after Charles Harris. In 2018. At number 5, we took Minkah Fitzpatrick. In the second, players available after Minkah Fitzpatrick. And Stephen Ross was in the draft room fighting with Chris Grier about this draft pick. Chris Grier wanted Minkah Fitzpatrick. Stephen Ross wanted him to draft Lamar Jackson. Chris Grier threw his ass until he was allowed to draft Minkah Fitzpatrick. If only he would have listened to the owner. If only he would have listened to Stephen Ross. But players drafted after Minkah Fitzpatrick, who only played 1 year for the Miami Dolphins until this year. Vita Vea was drafted, defensive tackle. Derwin James, another safety who I would even consider better than Minkah Fitzpatrick. Jair Alexander, all-pro cornerback. And, of course, Lamar Jackson. In the second round, we took Mike Gesicki. Players drafted after Mike Gesicki. Dallas Goedert, better tight end than Mike Gesicki ever has been. Fred Warner, all-pro middle linebacker. And Mark Andrews, probably a Hall of Fame tight end. All after Mike Gesicki. In 2019, we drafted Christian Wilkins, which wasn't a bad draft pick. 2020, we took Tua Tagovailoa. Players available after Tua that we could have took. The big one, Justin Herbert. A.J. Terrell, one of the best corners in all of football. C.D. Lamb, one of the best receivers in all of football. We had multiple first-round picks. At 18, we took Austin Jackson. Players available after Austin Jackson. You had Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in football. Jordan Love. Jordan Love's a good young quarterback. And then our last first-round pick, we took Noah Igbenogany. Players that were drafted after Noah Igbenogany. Wide receiver T. Higgins from the Cincinnati Bengals. Michael Pittman from the Cincinnati Bengals. And then we had 2 second-round picks, Robert Hunt and Raekwon Davis. Players taken after Robert Hunt and Raekwon Davis, Jonathan Taylor, Cole Kmet, Antoine Winfield, Jalen Hurts. In 2021, number 6, we take another draft where we had 4 total picks in the first 2 rounds. And number 6, we took Jalen Waddle. In that draft, we could have had Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell, J.C. Horn, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater. Number 18, we took Jalen Phillips. Second round, Javon Holland. Second round, we traded up for Liam Eichenberg. Creed Humphreys, all-pro center, was available when we traded up for Liam Eichenberg. In 2022, we didn't have any first-round draft picks. 2023, second round, we drafted Cam Smith. He was a disaster. We got Devon Achane in the third. In 2024, we drafted Chop Robinson with the number 21 pick. Players available after Chop Robinson, Brian Thomas Jr. He's looking like he's a beast. Graham Barton, he's going to be an all-pro center. Lad McConkey, defensive tackle Brandon Fisk for the Rams. Cornerback Cooper DeJean. All those players have had better careers so far than Chop Robinson, I had high expectations on this year, and he's just been a complete letdown. But look at all these players that damn, couldn't you have gotten any of these right, Chris Grier? Any of them? Couldn't you have gotten any of these right? I mean, Tua Tagovailoa was coming into the league injured, suffered a career-threatening injury, and you go and you draft him. Austin Jackson had dealt with some stuff. He had went under a procedure to help his sister live, where bone marrow was taken from him, and he lost a bunch of weight, and this, that, and the third. Jalen Phillips, he retired because of injuries in college, yet we drafted him in the first round. So many risky picks. And I think a more successful general manager could have built this team. There was players available. Chris Grier just couldn't find them. Could you imagine having TJ Watt instead of Charles Harris? Could you imagine having Lamar Jackson instead of Minka Fitzpatrick? Could you imagine having Jonathan Taylor instead of Noah Niganagmani? I got it, Raphael. Sorry about that. I try to listen to the broadcast so I can hear it. But please, firing Mike McDaniel that's not good enough. I think, in my opinion, if you're not firing Chris Grier, you might as well keep Mike McDaniel. I understand that the fan base wants blood, but making a move on Mike McDaniel is not good enough for me. I can take Mike McDaniel staying as head coach. What I cannot take is Chris Grier staying as GM. And no coach is going to want to come here and play under Chris Grier. No real good coach. What coach is going to want to come here? Oh, you got full control of the franchise that has no success record of building a team. Oh, I got to come here and Tua's got to be my quarterback. The only acceptable move that Chris Grier can, or the only acceptable move for Stephen Ross to make is by firing Chris Grier now. Without firing Chris Grier, this team cannot move forward. This team cannot begin to heal or rebuild until we've moved on from Chris Grier. That's the only way we can start to move forward. This guy is not the answer. And I'm not saying Chris Grier is the only one that deserves to be fired, but to me, he's the one that most is responsible for this disastrous roster that we have. And if that's the case, us as fans are in for an extended period of disastrous results. If Chris Grier is not going to be fired till after this course case is wrapped up because Stephen Ross being worried about Chris Grier's testimony, we got decisions to make as fans. Do you continue to support the team and allow them to treat you like you're uneducated? I mean, how many times have we sat there and watched Chris Grier laugh at us because of our concerns over the offensive line, the defensive line, and he thinks that we're stupid, looks at us like we're stupid. Yeah, we get the same results every year. An offensive line that's not capable of blocking. We gave up 9 yards a carry last week. And what if we do get a top 5 pick this year? Chris Grier, we're going to allow Chris Grier to make that selection for us? Until Chris Grier is fired, this franchise is in trouble. It's in shambles, and I just don't see how we come back from it until we have the proper people in place to build it back up to the great teams of the 70s, the competitive teams of the 80s. We need the right players in place. And Chris Grier is not capable. He's not capable. So don't buy the jerseys. Don't buy tickets to the games. I know it's hard. I'm going to continue to watch the games on TV. That, it's my team. I'm going to support them. But I'm not going to go to football games. I'm not going to buy jerseys. I'm not going to buy hats. I'm not going to support this team in any way other than just giving them time, which time's valuable in itself. That's time you could be spending with your family that you donate to this team each and every week. So they're not even deserving of our time, but they're our football team. We can't give up on them. But again, dark days are ahead of us if Stephen Ross isn't going to make the right move. I truly hope he does not fall victim to that leech. And that's exactly what he is. Chris Grier is a leech. He's like a cockroach. He'll do anything and everything to survive. What up, Pete? What's going on? He's a filthy, rotten cockroach that will do anything and everything to survive. And we need to get a big can of Raid and call the Orkin man and get his ass out of here. But that's what I got. We'll be doing the picks tomorrow, the weekly picks. We'll be starting to talk about the Miami Dolphins versus the Los Angeles Chargers. When's the next win come? When do you see the next win coming? Do we win another game this year? Do we? Because yesterday I was looking at the schedule, and to be honest, I'm finding it real hard to find another one unless we greatly improve somehow. But again, I hope that my regular viewers remember what I said. I want to start taking in daily calls. whatever the topic of the day is, I want people to start calling in, join in the show, give their 2-3 minutes of talking points, and then allowing someone else to come in. We'll discuss each person's point of view, and then we'll move forward. But I think that'd be a great way to a different view, a different type of show for the Miami Dolphins community. But I love you all. Make sure you hit that like button. Help me out. How many likes we got? How many likes we got up in here? Make sure you subscribe. I was getting 45 to 50 subscribers a month. Man, I've had 23 new subs in the last 90 days because I deleted all those videos. Terrible. Absolutely, Raphael. All right, but I will see you tomorrow right here on the Finn Posse. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. You know what it is. Fins up forever and ever and ever. Peace.
Yo, Big C in the house. You know the name. Finn Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami heat blazing. We scorching the floor. We know the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play by play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squash the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Finn Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Finn Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it Aqua Tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.